Welcome.
You didn't.
Well, I kind of decided to stop doing that.
You didn't tell anybody.
I did.
No, you didn't.
That's true. Everyone caught on last episode. Well, I haven't dropped that episode yet, but I stopped doing it because it's like, I don't know, maybe I feel like it's like, I don't know, kind of unprofessional and kind of like slightly annoying and shit like that. We just jump
that's
right
the
into
whole point.
But like we could be annoying. We could do that with our faces. You know what I'm saying? My face in particular.
Oh, I understand.
You know
I see.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Okay, fine, pretty boy, not your face. You get my face then. Jesus Christ, you don't want to hang out down here with us? See how it is. Anyway, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Dev Talks podcast. I'm your host, DevVv. Today, I'm joined with my lovely co-host, Crimson Wixx, Arkaenum, Omega, Perfectly Insane, and Music is Life. We're going to be chilling. Normal amount of shenanigans this episode.
Minimal amount of shenanigans, remember. In the green room, we were talking about how we needed to,
shenan, but no games.
Yeah, exactly.
I did say that. I did.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll try to keep it at that level. Okay. But I did say 666 shenanigans.
Which seems like the minimal amount, honestly.
Okay, bet. So for this episode, we're going to start with story time. Really fun.
Was it fun?
Really, it wasn't fun.
Was it fun? Fun for whom?
Fun story time football segment. Then we're going to jump into a really funny current event segment with the Eagles and the Vikings. It happened a couple weeks ago. Then we're going to be talking about a word of wisdom segment from Subtle Art of Not Giving a but, we'll get into that here momentarily. We're going to start with story time. So
I don't want to tell this story on the internet. I don't want people to know how.
I do, because people make jokes about this all the time. Kevin Hart has a joke about this, but like he's being robbed. We thought we were being robbed, which it was just by the most ghostly like person
with the weirdest just tactic. If this is somebody's tactic for robbing somebody, they are
that is a weird tactic.
Then we have any right. At that point, take everything.
We were cleaning the apartment, and this was this past weekend. And all we're doing literally is just cleaning the apartment, leaving to go and grab some food, and then coming back.
And deep cleaning.
That's it. That's it. Literally just that. And somehow we were convinced that somebody was in the house, somebody was robbing us, somebody was watching us, that we needed to go door to door like cat in hand.
So we were convinced that somebody had somehow snuck into our home, our 1,100 square foot apartment that has 3 dogs that are very loud.
Yeah.
Unbeknownst to us, unbeknownst to any of the dogs, and left. Would you like to do the honors?
So we're cleaning this house like spotless, kitchen, living room, work our way to the bathroom, and we're basically done at this point. Bathroom gets clean, spotless, everywhere, everything is where it's supposed to go, nothing is out of place.
We were going to bed, and we were trying to, I'm sorry.
Oh, we're going to bed?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
We were trying to get dog hair off of the comforter because it was the only thing we hadn't gotten around to, so we took the lint roller to it.
Yeah, and try to get stuff off the comforter, and then we also tried to get stuff off of ourselves because I had just brushed Misha that day. She was lumped into the whole cleaning the house situation, and so I go to grab the lint roller, go back into the bedroom, and then I come back into the bathroom, put the lint roller back, and there's just this bag of Q-tips sitting on the countertop, just out of nowhere. Out of place. Yeah, so did not put it there whatsoever.
I went into the bathroom before because you were still doing the lint roller.
Yeah.
And I went into the bathroom and I was like, hey, did you grab this random bag of Q-tips? Also, why is there Q-tips in a bag?
Yeah,
put it on the counter.
The hair on the back of my spine is standing up because I'm like, no.
He's like, no, not. certainly did not grab a random bag of Q-tips. Didn't even see this random bag of Q-tips.
Right? And bro, y'all know I got ADD. And I had to recall back literally the last 5 steps, like 1, 2, 3. No Q-tips, nowhere. Yeah. And she was like, nah, I didn't do Q-tips either.
Yes.
And so we were just like,
so we're standing in the bathroom. Standing in the bathroom, staring at a bag of Q-tips on our countertop, like, where did this materialize from? Everything is in its place.
Yep. And we're both just like, nah, you did it. Why are you lying?
Right.
No, why are you
real
lying?
Sus.
And so we're literally just
real
like,
sus.
no, look at me, okay? I did not do this. And so we're like,
so who did it? Who did it?
And so we're literally like,
we jokingly but incredibly seriously go room to room, doing a
house
perimeter sweep
with slight weapons in hand. You know what I'm saying?
Someone.
When you say slight,
I had 2 fists.
I did not play.
He had law. He had law.
He had a bag of Q-tips and a toothbrush. I'm gonna get you with my toothbrush and my Q-tips.
I had some lube, a cucumber, and the opposite end of a broom.
Nice.
We were just going room. And I was like, nah, at this point, when I checked one room, I was like, babe, honestly, get the gat. Because if you don't know where these came from, I don't know where these came from. The dogs are too short to climb up there.
Mysterious bag. Yeah. And again, like if that's somebody's calling card, take everything. Like if that's how you've masterminded such a just a missile to the logical part of the brain as to leave a bag of Q-tips on a countertop of a place you're about to rob and murder some people, like you deserve it
the whole time as they were looking for you.
Yeah,
it worked.
Yeah, maybe it was like a forewarning insult, like, yo, it's time, time to clean it. You better clean your ears. It's time to listen.
Wow, you're deep.
I don't know.
By the way,
but like now you might get this picture.
Exactly. That's
the dogs would not let a mouse enter the house.
And that's the thing. Logically, we know this. Logically, nobody is getting, like, they hear us walking down the hall on the opposite end of the building. Like there's no way anybody's
the wrong way, and they're like,
no way anybody's getting in here. Anyone who's been to our house knows that you are not sneaking in. You are not robbing us. Like it's not quiet, and there's 3 of them, and it's just like,
and I was just like, no. At the same time, I was like, that makes sense, but then I was like, how did it get past them? You fucking traitors! You seriously?
Did they bring steak?
Let us get murdered?
Yeah. So obviously it was somebody that
like,
you know, and
right?
The dogs know, because the dogs were like, yeah, come on in.
But it turns out after a full-on freak out where we were looking literally in the pantry, under the futon, behind the couch, stupid places.
Futon in their pantry.
I got a futon in the pantry.
In their pantry under the futon?
We got a deep pantry.
We got a deep pantry.
There was a comma.
Yeah. There was a breath. There was a pause. We figure out that when he pulled the lint roller out from underneath the sink, it must have been stuck on it.
Oh, that makes sense.
And then dropped off before he just like grabbed it and didn't. But but that was...
Like, I remember I don't fully unpack from anything. Y'all remember Bonnaroo? Right?
Yeah.
I haven't fully unpacked the Q-tips that I brought to
I never fully unpacked.
Don't look at me like that.
I never fully unpacked.
Exactly.
No, I unpacked you.
Yeah, you unpacked it, but not all the way.
Never fully unpacked my
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then all I gotta do is pick it back out and I'm ready to go, and the next time we're traveling, it's already there.
Exactly.
What's the point of
next year's bag of Q-tips.
Not even next year. Next month.
Yeah, not even next. Yeah.
But so we spent a good like 15-20 count, just really convinced someone had broken.
How many minutes elapsed?
Like 15-20 minutes. Like we literally, from the time I saw the Q-tips, asked him if he pulled them out.
How small did you think this person was?
That's smaller than me, apparently. Imaginations ran wild. We weren't even drinking or anything. Like it was.
I've seen one too many movies growing up, like Toy Story and like Little Soldiers. So there could be just small things. What?
You just reference those?
Yeah. What's up?
As a defense?
What?
This is my defense. I've seen a Toy Story.
You hopping off? She made it sound like she was hopping off.
On that note, it's been a real podcast.
No, but yeah, so that's our funny story time of how we thought someone was robbing us via a bag of Q-tips.
Yeah.
Or really just wire these Q-tips on the countertop when neither of us grabbed for them, and it's just us and the dogs in the house, and it was.
I wish there was a camera. So we could
honestly, I know. Honestly,
I wish you recorded the whole thing.
It would have gone viral. It would have because we were like, man, what? Are you sure you didn't put those Q-tips on the counter?
Were you like saying threatening too?
Did you
put
like
when I find you, I'm gonna kill you? You best believe you ain't making it out of this house.
Yeah, your family's just worried.
I had like the I'm on edge, laugh, but I'm ready to pop.
Right, like
pops out. You ain't here, right?
Ain't nobody under this futon.
Here, right?
Ain't nobody in this pantry.
So the next time we go to visit, we need to remember to bring Q-tips.
Please don't.
And randomly leave them in like odd spots when we leave, so that like 2 weeks later you're like, what the?
He's back.
We were laying in bed about.
The Q-tip ghost has returned.
Yeah, we were laying in bed after about 45 minutes after, and adrenaline's calmed down and whatever else, just cracking up.
Yeah.
Just tears.
Yeah.
Like literal tears rolling down our face, talking about, did we just spend 20 minutes searching our apartment for some tiny intruder that somehow got past our dogs
and left Q-tips?
Or
so you weren't drunk.
No, we weren't.
And you weren't high out of your mind?
No, we have been cleaning. You are always high out of your mind, though. So that's not
valid.
Yeah, but we have been cleaning all day. Like it was not.
Nothing
it was a really
normal.
chill. Yeah, it was. It
Like,
was.
I feel like y'all live in a nice area too. So
Yeah,
it's like,
that's the other thing. We really do. There are multi-million-dollar. There are literally multi-million-dollar mansions. Like outside this window.
And if somebody was casing the joint, they'd know
probably-
better than to go into
It
your
was
spot.
so it must be these new anti-robberies I heard of, where they like look at you and they're like,
they
"Yo,
just show you they can
pity
get in.
you. They pity you. They're like, these fools don't even have this.
A white hat hacker.
Right? They just come and give it to you real quick and let you know that like I could be here any moment. I'm giving
Cheers. Charity.
You don't have shit that I want because your next door neighbor's got better stuff. But just so you know, I can take your shit anytime
any
I want
moment.
to.
I want you to know how poor you are. Like really are. I want you to know. That's
I
like
saw you at the
not
store and
worth
I saw how much
breaking in.
earwax you had in your ears. Left these here
Oh,
for
man.
you.
this is the flex that we're going into in 2023.
The funnier thing is, like a couple days before this, he did have to go and get his ears flushed because he was he was partially deaf in one ear.
Nigga.
So it was just like a multitude of layers.
You're nasty.
Hey,
That's what it was.
Dude,
That's what it was.
It's the
It's not
mountains.
my fault, man. The
Yeah.
mountains literally. So
It's
I
the drier
produce-
air
that's
and the
not
high
big
altitude.
I
Yeah.
produce a decent. Did you just call me a heathen? Did I hear heathen?
Did you? I said dust caking up in your ears.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
I thought you said dusty heathen. I was like, what?
Yo, Kevin woke up today and chose
raggedy-
violence.
Raggedy and dusty heathen.
He woke up and chose violence today. All right. I see. It's all good.
The mountains, living up here, it hardens your boogers, it hardens your
Yeah.
earwax, it hardens like
Yeah.
everything. It sucks. And so me in particular, I have a decent amount of earwax that can build up to the point where I can't reach it with a Q-tip.
Yeah.
But it will make me go deaf in one ear.
You need
Yeah.
to
Okay,
get
let me ask
the
one very
endoscopic
important question.
thingy.
How
The
often
endoscopic-
do you clean your ears?
I'd say two. I mean, technically every 2 days, 2 to 3
Yeah,
days.
pretty often.
With a Q-tip.
Your shit
Yeah.
builds up that fast?
Yeah, it
Dude,
builds up.
It's really bad because it did that before I moved here.
Yeah.
And then after a while of moving here, when I realized what was happening with my boogers, I was like, oh, this ain't gonna be good.
Your skin is literally like just the fountain of youth with how much oil you produce.
That's the only good thing I got. That's the
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
good thing I got because the sun really dries people out up here.
It's
Me too
real.
sometimes.
Yeah,
Right.
they have. I got a little micro, like it has a little microscope on the inside, and all the way in.
Oh no!
It links to your phone, so you can see what you're doing in real time.
There you go.
It's a little weird.
Go.
It's a little weird getting back there, but man, let me tell you what, you can get some stuff out.
I'm zooming in on your face so hard, so hard in post right here.
Uh-huh.
Oh,
Give it-
okay.
give it to-
That's-
I definitely would recommend the person
Here's-
themselves try it because it's weird. It's a weird feeling. You gotta
Here's
like,
the thing.
You're doing it in your. No.
Here's the thing.
uh-huh.
He texted me and he was like, "Oh my god, like so much came out." Like she was like so like
She
excited
was so
to
amazing.
flush my ears. She was just like amazed with how much. I was like, "Did you take a picture?" And he was like, "No, why would I take a picture?" I was like, "Why would you not take a picture?"
I haven't heard.
I'm
the
sorry.
end of it.
And I will
Why the
never
fuck would you
because I
want a
wanted
picture?
to see.
That's
You
what I thought.
nasty.
I just wanted to
I
You
was like,
nasty.
It's
But at
not
the same
gross.
time, though,
it's just
like-
earwax.
Not
It's
gross.
not like- Yeah,
not
I mean,
gross.
it's not everyone's
Okay,
cup of
Jeffrey
tea.
Dahmer, not gross.
Yeah.
but I'm a picker. Like I like to pick pop pimples, and like I'm that's my thing.
Yeah, the videos aren't
Nasty,
they're not too
yeah.
much for her to watch
Yeah,
You
either.
tried
so-
whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
has their thing. Okay.
Everyone has their
No, they
everyone
don't.
has their
Yeah.
thing. You know,
Everyone has their
some dogs
thing.
like to eat poop. You like to just like pop
Yeah,
things.
I like to
you know,
pop
whatever.
pores. It's fine.
Yeah.
There's a whole
But not
like
everybody
Netflix.
has their thing.
Everybody.
Like, I don't
has
have a
their thing.
nasty that I enjoy.
Yeah, but you like to be an asshole just to be an asshole. So that's your
So,
thing.
That is the
Yeah.
nasty.
Exactly. Everybody has their thing.
So do you. Cancer, get off.
That's my thing. I have lots of things. That's just one of them.
She is a multitude of things.
A multitude.
There's a multitude of things.
A laundry list, even.
Uh-huh.
Nobody can roast me harder than my own demons in my head. So come at me. Like
I feel that.
I got to go to a heavy metal concert, Lamb of God and Killswitch Engage recently.
Oh.
That was
We
Oh,
just
man.
saw them at
Yeah.
Louder Than Life.
it was so it was amazing. Like talk about fighting your demons, but for real, that's where it's at. I think it's a great time. Like it's not for everyone, but if you can go there and
No.
like
It
be
is.
sane.
It is
I
the
mean,
best
Louder Than Life,
release.
and
It is ever. Like
Ever.
it's truly
Yeah.
is.
So you get
like-
to like scream and shove people, and you can get rid of so much tension and
Only
anger
2
and
fights
whatever.
happened near me.
And
It
it's
wasn't
all
bad.
like good. It's so
Fights?
good.
Uh-huh.
only
Uh-huh.
two. Yeah.
Yeah, only 2 fights broke out near me.
Nice.
That's not too bad. But yeah,
Not bad.
it's like you get if you know how to release your energy and transmute it the right way. Some people
Yep.
obviously don't know how to. They just get
Yeah,
super
that's true.
like face drunk, and they're the ones that get in fights. But like
Yeah.
otherwise, you know, if you know what you're doing,
Yep.
just rage and have a good time.
Best
Like I
thing
was
ever.
talking to a guy. We were talking like he's a family guy. Like he's like, I don't gonna bring my wife here though. It's pretty violent. And I was like, I agree. That was a good
Yeah.
move. But
No, do
it's
that.
I mean, yeah, I would. I think it's great. Like
If I wouldn't be terrified that my glasses would get broken and then I would be an invalid, like I would probably rage up pretty hard.
yeah.
fair.
It's
Yeah.
very fair, completely fair assessment. Like,
It's,
Yeah.
it's
The whole
best
entire-
place ever. I love it.
Yeah,
right
I-
up to the point where, like, literally, probably 5 or 6 years ago, my son told me, "You need to stop going into the pit at the metal shows because
True
you're
that.
hurting me. You're hurting me, Mom." And
You're
I'm like,
hurting
"Yeah,
me."
right." So my 6'5"
Yes.
kid stands on the edge and
Right.
watches me while I go in, and he's like, "I'll come and save you if you go down, but it's too much for me." My 6'5" kid won't follow me in anymore.
I mean, you know,
Crazy.
You
Yeah.
know, it's hard out
She's
here.
something.
It's hard out here, huh?
So
It's hard out here being awesome.
about bad
it really is.
Yeah.
about badasses.
My back. That's why my back has issues. But anyways, go ahead.
Do that.
The current events segment. We're gonna move on to the current events segment. The football season's been going on for about 4 weeks now. And a couple of highlights going on so far. My Ravens are 2-2. I mean, I'll take the 2 wins, but like the 2 losses are terrible. Oh, you gonna care in a second. Let's see. The 49ers, I don't know how you guys lost to the Broncos.
Oh, I don't even want to talk about it. I don't want to
No.
talk about this entire 49ers season. Let's just skip past that. Let's skip the Notre Dame season, and I'll just say I don't want to
All
talk
right.
about either one
Let's
of them.
talk about the Eagles season and the Dallas Cowboys season for a second.
God. Sorry, what?
So
We're getting right to it, aren't we?
yeah,
Nice.
we're just gonna get right to it.
I'm sorry. I need a moment. Hold on. Okay.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
Whoa.
Here's the thing.
Excuse me.
Wow.
That's fake, right?
That's
Ah.
not.
Not.
You see
See,
the
that's the
cellulite?
thing.
That's not in the
That's the
thighs.
thing.
Man, that is
Look,
that is earned.
Before we get too much further, all right, I'm
Yeah.
friends with a multitude of people from all across the world. And, you know, I'm not trying to put down Colorado, but there was some girls from the East Coast and they came here and they were like, you know, that Colorado 10 is a Florida 4. And that's what
Yeah.
they said. And I was like, you know, you're very right. And so we're going to continue.
But, okay, so my
Whoa, wait,
important
hold
here,
on. A
what?
local Colorado 10, like someone who was born here
Oh God.
versus like a transplant
Get 'em.
10. Because there are
Get 'em.
some very attractive people here, but they were not
Yeah.
born here.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to put down
Yeah.
anything here. It's just like, you know, we all
Yeah.
have different fruits from different areas of the world.
Right.
So, well, I
Talking
wanna
about
highlight
fruit.
here-
God damn.
I
What do you
highlight
want to
here-
highlight? Because I am.
Can you focus?
No,
Just can you focus?
I cannot.
Okay, you are looking at the thing that. Okay, so look behind. I know this is asking.
There's
you
something
for a lot.
behind.
You see this?
Behind the booty. Do you see that Vikings fan behind her?
You check him out. Check him out.
I jugging. Look at him.
He's checking.
His team is down 24-7 at this point. He ain't got nothing else to look at.
No.
You better not look at that field. Your team losing.
Exactly.
Can you blame him?
I mean, like, yeah. It's like if your team, if you didn't get appetizer.
Oh, right? There he is.
You didn't get dinner. You might as well get some dessert, right?
Like, this is the definition of down and out.
I don't think that man thought he was going to get that dessert.
No.
That's why he's still looking.
Like
I hate to tell you this, but that cake is way out of his.
Yeah, it's not out of his price range, out of his tax bracket.
This is a little definition of down and out.
Not
the
wrong.
Eagles are currently 4-0 right now, so that's definitely out of his league. I mean,
yeah.
No, you see the muscle definition in her arm? That's a squat booty.
Oh my god, that's a squat.
What muscle definition do you see?
In her forearm. She's not flexing her
biceps.
Everybody
has that.
No, not everybody don't have that, fam. Nah, that's not a given. That's
she flexed in her forearm because she could feel the eyes on her.
Yeah, and the muscle through her wrist too. Yeah.
Either that or she's making a fist.
Maybe she's flexing her booty.
You just don't stand. You just don't stand like that.
Right.
You just don't stand like that and not know what you're doing. You know.
Yeah.
She. I mean, to be fair, she can't stand like anyway and not look like she's.
Well, that's what that was, and you know what? I guarantee that was goals in her mind, and she achieved it.
She did. Good for. I mean, round of applause, honestly.
Round of applause. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That is. Round of applause.
I mean, you know, you got cake when it sticks out further than your backpack.
Absolutely.
That is also true.
Like
goals.
I'm like, I've been debating on just making clothes, and all the clothes are just thick with different C's depending on like how thick you are.
Depending on how thick you need to be.
Right. Like so she's a few C's deep.
She is.
Those are custom.
3 or 4 C's deep. Yeah.
That's what I'm like. That's thick.
Well, excuse you, sir.
Oh,
well, not done with that.
You know what? You gotta
wait. Do you guys have your desktop? You're good to go, Brooke.
Okay.
Your list is getting too long. Let's talk about.
Hey, speaking of cake, though, did you see that French police officer?
Oh no.
With the cake. Oh, she's like famous now.
Don't send it to her. Nah, don't send it to her. I'm a loser tomorrow.
All right, I won't.
Nah, send it to her. It's fine. We'll take that energy.
Thank you.
We'll take that energy. All right. So we're gonna move on to the last segment of this episode. I told you guys it'd be like minimal amount of shenanigans this episode. It's
that
minimal,
was
right.
The reasonable amount of shenanigans.
You dropped a booty bomb, so like I feel like that's at least worth
satisfaction, right?
200 shenanigans.
That's what's up. All right,
right. Like I think our limit's like I don't know 500 shenanigans or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
we don't have a scoreboard for it yet, but we're getting there.
Well,
okay.
You know,
all right,
we'll put it in.
We can have like maybe a shenanigans score counter as it happens.
Hey, check your phone.
Honestly, that would not, Colton. That would not be a bad idea at all.
I know.
Not be a bad idea.
A little shenanigan counter.
Load.
Shenanigan counter.
And like
load. You gotta do the read more.
You gotta get off my
noob.
Listen here.
She didn't click the read.
God.
All the way down to the ads.
Oh.
Okay, so Brooke's out for the rest of the podcast.
For the rest of the episode.
Yeah.
She could arrest me.
Yeah.
She could arrest you.
Yeah. I could get over my constraint trauma for her, honestly. Like what's up?
I might ask for more, actually.
Right. Thank you. That was a gift.
You're very welcome.
Yes.
For the last segment of the episode, we are gonna do the words of wisdom segment. This is normally when I find something from culture and I read a little excerpt from it, and we do a little deep dive. And every person's gonna basically talk about something that applies to their life from this message. We bring it all together, and try to make this a better place. So. This excerpt is from The Subtle Art of Not Giving a F*** by Mark Manson. This is going to be on page 85 for anybody who's following along into 86. And the excerpt reads, sorry, let me get the right pastor voice here from.
Say a pastor.
He feels like a pastor to me. Like just a pastor gets to say F*** a lot. In the long run, completing a marathon makes us happier than eating a chocolate cake. Raising a child makes us happier than beating a video game. Starting a small business with friends while struggling to make ends meet makes us happier than buying a new computer. These activities are stressful, arduous, and often unpleasant. They also require withstanding problem after problem, yet they are some of the most meaningful moments and joyous things we'll ever do. They involve pain, struggle, even anger and despair. Yet once they're accomplished, we look back and get all misty-eyed telling our grandkids about them. As Freud once said, one day in retrospect, the years of struggle will strike you as the most beautiful. And here's the point that I want to talk about with us. This is why these values, pleasure, material success, always being right, staying positive, are poor ideals for a person's life. Some of the greatest moments of one's life are not pleasant, not successful, not known, and not positive. The point is to nail down some good values and metrics, and pleasure and success will naturally emerge as a result. These things are side effects of good values by themselves. They are empty highs. So I'm asking you guys, what's a journey that you went through that in the moment made you feel like this was a worthless journey? It hurt. You felt nothing but despair, anxiety, and, just doubts, but turned out to be something that you actually needed. I can go ahead and volunteer for the start. If
go for it, pass it.
Yeah. All right. So there were 2 muffins in an oven, right? No, I'm just kidding. So I played Quidditch back in college for I think 5-6 years. And it was a pretty fun activity to do. Quidditch is basically, dodgeball mixed with basketball, mixed with soccer, and you got to hold a broomstick between your legs. But it got pretty competitive there for a second. I think the second year that I played this sport on the team, 4th year in total that we were doing it, we decided to go to nationals for the first time, which had been going on for 2-3 years before that. So it was a pretty nice stage of playing this. We'd only been playing in our backyard at Ball State and other surrounding colleges for a little bit. So it was nice to showcase our skills on a bigger stage, basically. And there was one play where my offense was driving up the field. It was against a pretty good team, the best team we'd played up until that current moment. And it was me and one other dude in a scoring position. And within, a matter of 1.5 seconds, all this stuff kind of spiraled and happened. He is a keeper with the quaffle, and his job is to basically either pass to another teammate or try to score the ball himself. But the difficult thing about this is if you try to score the ball yourself, you're going to be tackled by 3 or 4 other people just kind of waiting on you. So the whole point is to keep the ball passing, keep the ball moving so that nobody really cycles in on one player, and it makes a really nice offense, basically. Well, this play broke down, and the way that it broke down is something that I'll always think about forever, just because I could see in my teammate's eyes that he was thinking about passing the ball to me when he was getting into the range of the defense. So there are probably 2 defensive players in his area. It's going to make it pretty difficult to score, but I mean, if you're 6'4", 200 pounds, give it a shot. But the easier thing to do is to probably pass it to the open player. I was definitely open at this point, and I saw him decide, instead of passing the ball to me, that he was going to take the shot or drive the ball and try to take a shot. Well, what ended up happening is he got tackled by one player. I tried to put my hands up like a wide receiver ready to catch the ball, and he got tackled by the other player before he could actually get the ball off to me. That one split second where I was open is that's the beauty in sports. The team that connects on that one split second of magic is the team that scores, has a stop, or makes a tackle, blah blah blah, all those things. And the other team ended up making a tackle because the dude didn't trust me enough to pass me the ball. And it hurt because at that point in time, I was pretty solid. Not to say I was the best player on the team, but I'm definitely gonna hustle my ass off to make something happen. And I end up in pretty advantageous positions just because I've already played sports before. I know where to be, I know where not to be, and I know how to be an asset to my teammates. But in that particular moment, it just didn't happen. Reason why, I think I have to use that to this day is because it strengthens my journey in being here. You know, it's going to be difficult earning anybody's trust in general just because we live on Earth. Like living on Earth is just kind of inherently mean there's mistrust in certain places. Where there's misinformation, there's mistrust. And it has to stay with me because I have to keep that in mind at all times. If I forget about that, then I'll kind of disassociate and not be as in touch with some of the things that I want to do. Being a musician, being a creative, being somebody who's into art, like you want to be as in touch as possible and knowing how you're being perceived, how the world is being shaped around you. All that stuff is important. So as much information as I can get, you know, that's my motto in life. And it makes me a better person because I don't necessarily hold this against anybody. I definitely don't hold that against that player because we ended up having a pretty good season finishing that out. But it's more so just being aware of the fact that people can be mistrustful. So doing that extra thing to make people feel like you can trust them is pretty dope. Going the extra mile, making sure, you know, you can just be in tune with what is going on where there's other people involved. That's a special thing. It's empathy. So that's just something that stuck with me during that time. And I had to make it, mold it, and force it into a good thing. Because at the time it felt horrible. Yeah. Like it felt so bad. So
true that.
Yeah. What you guys got?
I mean, I got football, I got music as well. I kind of want to do the music one because it's sort of more diverse. So I've been playing music all my life. It's like I started playing piano this summer, after my third birthday. So I was literally 3 years old when I started. Eventually got into orchestra when I was older, and I started playing string bass. And because of just my natural having played piano since I was a kid, like it was super easy for me to pick up the string bass. It was just supernatural. I excelled at it. By 8th grade, you know, I was always the first chair bassist. People always just knew like I was the one that knew. And I got a private teacher. It never got to my head or anything. I just literally enjoy the instruments. And that's, I think, why I had such a unique and really intimate relationship with my musical past, is because I was never looking necessarily for myself through it. I was just enjoying what it was. But also when I say enjoying, I mean like getting really frustrated. When I would sit down and play music, my teacher would just like stop me in the middle of me playing. And then, I don't know if you guys know, when you're in the flow, you're in the flow. She would help slow me down, basically. She would just be like, you're rushing. Like, you need to learn what it is to be patient. And that was like probably the most difficult thing I could ever go through as a child, especially 10 years old, having to play note by note to just make sure everything was being actually pronounced and not speeding through the actual piece just to finish it, but to actually satisfy I never felt that like she was mean or anything. She was a very nice woman and very capable of teaching. But it was like I had to fight against so much of my own ego, even at such a young age, of wanting to see something done, but like actually not seeing it done. And that's what she was teaching me, to actually see the thing that I was perceiving and I was interacting and engaging with at such a young age. Essentially what empathy is, and being aware of that next level. And so years later, all this would just compile. And I'm in freshman year and I'm competing or auditioning to be in the district orchestra. It's a huge day where thousands of kids, 2,000-3,000 kids come together, take over a whole high school and just audition.
I remember those days.
Yeah, all day long. And
good days.
I didn't even understand really what I was getting myself into. I just was like, all right, I know I'm good. I know I can do things. And I had never really been around people who are also really good. Like everyone in my high school kind of sucked. They weren't enthusiastic about playing the instrument. So therefore we sucked. I feel that. So I get around these people and I immediately can tell everyone's like a master of what they're doing. And I'm starting to like completely second guess myself fully. I'm like, whoa. Like these people are like tearing out these sections that I was like spent months and hours and hours and hours trying to just like hear myself playing. And just, I knew they were good, but like they were like good, rubbing it in my face. Good.
Yeah.
I know it's 8 hours of waiting until I actually auditioned. That amount of anxiety that I had to wait for 8 hours of just waiting to then be in front of a room with people who couldn't even look at me and would just tell me to do these certain passages and I would have to play them. and just hearing the awkward silence of me messing things up and me getting through these segments and them not saying a word, just right here scribbling. And they'd just like be like, all right, play this next passage. And like no words. Like I get through it. I'm nervous as shit. We get on the bus and we don't know the results until we get on the bus before we're ready to leave.
Oh, and that's lovely. I missed that too.
They gave out the results and 4 students get in and I didn't hear my name. And I was honestly heartbroken because everything I had done musically, it was really effortless. And this was like the first time I was actually proposed a huge challenge. So yeah, I was essentially really, really heartbroken and like could actually like feel my heart in my throat for the first time at that level. We weren't leaving. We were just like sitting around and I saw my teachers like get off the bus and they're just talking to people. And I'm just like, whatever, like, let's just get this day on. And they get back on the bus and they call me and they're like, hey, Colton, can you come here? And I was like, yeah. I walk out and one of the actual conductor himself for the orchestra was like, so we're playing a piece that has never been played by a high school before and we need a bigger bass section. So we need one more bass. And so they ended up giving me that 13th chair, which originally was only 12, but I was 13th in line. And so I was awarded essentially that slot. And so I was the first freshman in my high school for string bass to even go to districts, which was amazing in its own. And so I get there, districts come around and we all like re-audition when you're there to see what actual seat you are. And I ended up getting 3rd chair after we were auditioned. And so it just like was a huge wake up call that like, you think you're good at something until you're actually around people who also do that thing you do. And then you really, really get to reevaluate yourself. And I think a lot of people in this society have never actually been around people who are just as good as them, the things they do, and actually been humbled by them. And so that's an experience that I think everyone should really be open to.
Nice.
Agree.
Nice.
I guess I will go next. I mean, I think my biggest life lesson, I have been the odd man out. I think my whole life, I've felt like my entire existence, I've never really fit in. The things that make me happy, my appearance, a lot of things have not necessarily hit with what society and, my neighborhood and my friends and everything. I was just always the weird one out my whole life. And I never really, and that over the long term took a huge toll on my self-esteem and my self-value. And I ended up without going into a lot of detail, several situations where not valuing myself ended up being a really detrimental thing in my life. And it took a lot of really difficult times of me going through for me, and a very good friend of mine had a lot of difficult conversations with me for me to realize that being not like everybody else is actually a huge positive and not a negative. And I completely flipped my life. I went from working in the real world to working in a high school because I'm the lady that walks around to all of the trans kids and all of the goth kids and all of the kids that feel like they don't fit in. And I'm like, dude, your shirt's amazing. I know that band. And they'll look at me and end up having a conversation with me, or your hair is so incredible. Or every once in a while, one of them will come up to me and say, I love your hair. I love what you're wearing. Your tattoos are amazing. I mean, it took me hitting rock bottom through a lot of situations to realize that being that person that didn't fit in was actually a positive, not a negative. And it made me realize that valuing myself and what I have to offer the world and making sure that what I need and what I want is uppermost for me instead of constantly putting myself at the bottom. It kind of made me realize that being unique and being different is actually a really good thing, because I can help somebody else remember that you don't have to be just like everybody else. You are just as important to this world. And if it wasn't people like me, much the same, musicians are, if there are people that don't realize their talent and don't necessarily fit in, and they're the people that break those molds. They're the people that like step in some place where nobody else has ever been, because they are unique and because they are different. And you can't imagine how different the world would be if everybody was the same. And so recognizing your value and what you have to offer the world was a huge turnaround for me. And in turn, it's like also flipped my career and my life and kind of where my focus went to making sure that these high school kids who don't necessarily, that are me when I was in high school, that don't fit the mold, understand that they are just as valuable and what they have to offer the world means just as much as what everybody else has to offer the world. And to be proud of who they are and to remember that they are just as important as everybody else and they deserve the same respect and they deserve the same everything as everybody else gets. So that was a really long, difficult journey for me. I mean, that started when I was in middle school and I was probably in my 40s before it ever clicked to me that not fitting in was not a bad thing.
Yeah. Snaps. Snaps on that
all day.
Oh, yeah.
All day.
Late to the snaps. My bad.
Delayed snaps.
Delayed snaps. The cats are snapping over there.
Mine are just napping. Snapping.
Napping.
They're not snapping. They're napping.
Not
like,
snapping.
Nah, the cats have snapping. They're over.
If I just really quick, if you don't mind me interjecting, I just wanted to like piggyback off what you just said because I saw them and shared an amazing psychology experiment that they taught, I guess, in the 80s that someone had filmed, and the teacher divided the class in half and it was the anagram test where you take words and just rearrange them to get new words, and so the one half had really easy words, and the other half had two that were literally, you couldn't do it. It was impossible. And that third one, both of them had the same third one. So basically what happened is she asked for them to both to do the first one and then raise your hand when you're finished. And the first half had their hands up and the other half couldn't. And it's like, they're all looking at each other like, what the fuck? And then they go to the second one, same thing. They're like, real quickly, the one half raises the hand, the other half's just like literally upset, like visibly like frustrated. And they get to the last one and like, more people from the other half get it, but not all of them. And the other half, of course, was nailing it. And so like the teacher was just like, all right, just like, I want to let you know that you guys literally had two different tests. Like this side had something that they could do. You guys, you couldn't do the first two, but the third one you all could do. But by the time you got to the third one, like, what were you feeling?
Right.
And these kids were like, I felt like frustrated, confused, upset, like sad that I felt stupid. And, then they went on to teach how people within minutes can just fabricate the way you see yourself. And then those first initial experiences, people, especially children, take that on to everything in their future. That lack of confidence, that lack of
with you for the rest of your life.
And so that's like a huge thing that I find super important. I think that's why I love music so much, because it gave me that sense of value before, I guess, another human being. I'm not saying it's important. It's really important that we like love each other and actually connect as humans, but I think it's also really important you learn to get that feeling for yourself outside of human. Like you should find something that you get and connect to and love just as much as you do other people. And that's your thing, and that's where you find value in yourself more than from other people's validation, and that really helps us grow and develop.
I agree.
And that's, I mean, that's kind of perfectly what my story is. It's still a lesson in projects
for me.
It's still a lesson in projects.
We'll say progress for you.
Thank you. No dyslexia. It's the worst.
I know. I have my tongue pierced too. It's like double negative.
It's the worst.
Right.
It's still a lesson in progress for me. About being careful about what you wrap your identity in and what you get that validation from. Because I went, without going into like copious details, I had like 4 of the 5 major life stressors happen in the course of like less than a year. And most of them happened over the course of a couple months. I literally had
9 months
or 3. I had major illness and injury. I had a surgery in December of 2019. I got laid off from a job I was at for 5 years that I loved in January of 2020. And then when COVID shutdown happened, my ex-husband walked out like the day shutdowns happened. We were together for 10 years. So like it was a really short amount of time and a lot of stress and things that I had very firmly wrapped my identity in, my job, my relationship, my all of these things.
Literally everything that is your identity.
Yeah, literally everything that was my identity. And then the isolation of COVID, like not even be able to see my friends or go to a bookstore or like do any activity outside of my house. I was trapped inside of my house where my marriage disintegrated while everyone was panicking about how bad this was going to be. And it was an incredibly difficult situation. And I realized how much I had my identity wrapped into anything and everything that wasn't me, and how much I had given to other people, other projects, other, my job and all these other things. But I didn't really know a lot about myself. And it stemmed from growing up in narcissistic abuse, growing up with an addict. There's not a lot of room in there to develop that sense of self, or like that internal validation or finding passions, because you're literally existing to emotionally fulfill your abuser in that kind of situation. And this is, like I said, it's still in progress because it's only been 2 years. And then there was another surgery and another, a whole year of stress and moving across the country and all those things and restarting another relationship and trying to get off the ground with that. And just honestly building from the ground up my identity and detangling that from anything else external in my life, which is a lesson that is
not an easy thing to do.
Not an easy thing to do. And then I don't necessarily, I don't have parents. I don't have siblings. Both my grandparents passed. I'm a very kind of not isolated. I have amazing friends. I have amazing extended family, but I don't have a nuclear family
I relate to that hard.
Yeah, to bounce back to,
right.
To kind of
and that puts our thoughts in a different mode than other people's, and it's built-in survival. So it's what do you say when someone's like, "Oh, don't be so survivalistic"? I'm like, well, I don't have the option to not be.
Right.
Right.
So it's how I don't expect you to understand that out of me, but you need to know that. And I can't expect them to be considerate, but I completely understand the inconsideration that a lot of people, let me just put it this way, they don't know how to appreciate what they have. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. And that's
100%.
And you don't want to compare and you don't want to fawn or fantasize or romanticize, but it's easy to when there's, I put it, the other day I put it as I'm homesick for a place that doesn't exist. I'm homesick for a place that never existed. And
or you're homesick for a place that you thought you existed in that really didn't exist. And when it leaves, all you want is just to be back in that spot again.
Right. And that's the moral of the story is I have learned so much about myself, way more about myself in the last 2 years than I did in the first 28. Yeah. And unlearned so many toxic and negative and just abusive thought patterns and processes in my head. And I'm still every week, I feel like I learned something new, or I come across something new, or I f up in a new way, or in the same way with a new thing. And it's just and it's just because I'm literally piece by piece putting together my identity, and I had it wrapped up in all of the wrong things.
Yeah.
And
I
none of the right
don't
things.
know that ever is for me. I'm 15 years down the road from my darkest point in my life. Yeah. And I still struggle with it, and I still work on it every single day. I think it is, for at least for me, it's a constant realization of getting up in the morning and realizing that that I'm important, I have value, that what I love and what I like matters, and that other people's does too. But for me, it's like that I have to remind myself every morning, because it is literally for me unlearning 45 years of not valuing myself. Yeah, and so I get up in the morning, and usually when I'm in the shower, I have this conversation with myself about, remembering. And it's a process. It really is. Yeah. And I don't know that it ever really ends. It's that's an everyday thing.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's you have to actively work with what I'm learning recently. You have to actively work on the thoughts in your head, and don't have to, whatever's in there doesn't have to be in there, and it's not truly you. it's a whole journey.
I've been having a serious conversation, not to like continue this too long, but with my friends in a very similar, just heartfelt way. And this was something I was expressing to my one friend, and I was telling her, I'm like, I don't even know how to really say this, but I feel like somehow the human development and trauma just like got intermingled. So like now when we're just trying to develop ourselves as a human, it's either seen as trauma, or if we're actually traumatized, it's seen as human development. And like we've meshed these things together and not understood what this means for people. And like we're grouping everyone together still. Even while acknowledging people are different, we're still grouping how we perceive and like deal with each other the same exact way. And like that's what I was explaining to my friend. She and my other friend would always, they always want to be inclusive and they always want to do things together, but they never actually would include me with their decision making to go do things. They would just be like, hey, we're doing something, you want to come along? And I'm like, that's not inclusive at all. Y'all are not actually bringing me into the conversation. You're just suggesting I come along, assuming I want to do the things you're doing. And so I'm just letting you know that
have the conversation with me included.
Right. Like you want to have the conversation with the person that you're talking about, not others, and then invite them. Like that's how you do this.
That's how misunderstandings are
like
bred.
I understand like withholding from children who aren't emotionally capable, but if we're wanting to have an adult relationship, that's something we need to work on, is being able to communicate to each other. And like actually accepting that.
Communication, I wish there was something that was more of a focus on, like, again, I work in a high school, so I wish it was more of a focus for high school kids to figure out how to have positive, productive communication without.
That's not taught.
No, it's not. It is such an important thing in your life that, like, for work, for your self-esteem, for
internal
your worth, for your
everything.
value, for your relationship, for everything about your entire life.
Yeah.
If you can't figure out how to have a good, honest, positive conversation where you come to a conclusion at the end, it's like, I wish we taught that.
No more.
Yeah.
It's such a crazy thing that communication is not valued until there is a traumatic something in your life that makes you suddenly realize that that's
like,
an important, that's an, I agree with you. I think conversation is a huge piece of positivity that we're missing in the greater scheme of things.
Yeah, I see it in everyone's lives. But I don't know if it's like the music of life. Are you going to say anything, or do you have a story you were going to say?
Sure.
PI.
I kind of had to sift through to find something a little lighter than.
I felt
that's why I tried to go light with my music too. I want to be.
And I was like, oh wait, hold on.
It's okay.
You pulled a sports reference. I got to pull back. Hold on.
That's exactly where I was like, all right. But no, I mean, I think mine would probably. I decided to go with one that was probably most relatable for a lot of people, and for me, it was my religious trauma. I was a pastor's kid. I was raised in the church. My dad was a president of a Bible college. I went to a private Christian school.
Oh yeah,
damn, you were generations deep in it.
Crazy.
Yeah. And like it was heavy for a kid, to be told at jump that you have no worth outside of yourself.
Yep.
Like,
and you're going to hell probably.
And that you're only going to have worth if you're perfect.
And you only have worth if you believe in Christ. And other than that, you have no worth. That was hard to palate as a child.
Yeah.
And with other things going on in my life during my upbringing, I mean, understand, like, every day the Bible was thrown in my face. So church Sundays, but we had Sunday school before and hang out after, so more church talk. Then you have Monday through Friday at school when you have actual Bible class and chapel. Then you have the repeat again and again and again. And it really inundates you with a lot of that bullshit. And not that it's all totally bullshit, there's some healthy aspects for some people, but the continuous notion that you'll never amount to anything without God, without Christ, that was so prevalent that it was hard for me to imagine life outside of that. So as I kept growing and growing inside of it, I turned into the most legalistic person. I turned into somebody who judged everybody. I turned into, all because I hated myself, right? Like, I wanted to be perfect, but I couldn't, so I'm going to hate everybody who isn't perfect. Like, it's a really fucked up thing to do, but that's what I became. And in the end, I left the church by some not so great means. And when I did, I was alone. I had no one. I mean, the friends I had then were all thinking, oh, well, he's turning away from God. Like, well, he's no longer one of us. And, you know, friends that were mentors were the same. And my family would not every conversation, but many conversations would just be about my faith. And as I deconstructed my faith, I had to deconstruct myself. I had to get to know me, because everything of my identity was wrapped up in the church, was wrapped up in what I could do for God, who I could be for God. Yeah. Every decision, everything was through a lens of religion. And when I lost my community in the church and I lost my direction as in faith, I felt like I lost my purpose. I felt like I didn't know any reason to be. Since I've deconstructed, since I've realized that there was a lot of trauma involved in the religion and how I was brought up, I've begun to be more cognizant and more gracious towards those still in it. Because had I not left the church, I would have stayed the same. And many people don't have the opportunity to leave because they, like me, were raised in it. So, I mean, I wasn't taught to hate, but I was taught to judge. And many times we don't know how to draw a line between judging and hating. And when you're taught that judging is loving, then that's a very twisted way to approach the world as well. Yeah. So it was very hard for me to kind of have new conversations, whether it was about, I mean, to be honest, gays, abortion, any topic that in church I was taught was the worst of things. It was hard. It was really difficult because that voice in my head that I've now learned to say, shut the fuck up to, was ever prevalent and would argue back in my head as I'm listening to these new thoughts, these new ways of believing and thinking, and new facts that I had never heard before, new evidences for certain things that I had just been blind to because of my religion. And I had to really fight to get that voice out of my head. I had to really battle to become someone better than I had been taught to be. And I think in so many ways now, I'm thankful for what I went through, but I wouldn't wish it on a lot of people. And I talk to a lot of friends now who have been through the same thing, but didn't come out on the same side as me, had all the same questions, but relied on that's why it's called faith, for an answer. And it saddens me because they are still judging themselves, still hating themselves, still wishing they could be somebody better, wishing they could be perfect, and saying that, oh, well, I'll never be perfect. I'll never amount to being good enough. And it breaks my heart because these are 30-year-old people still believing the bullshit that they were taught as children. Yeah. And as I've walked away, as I've made friends outside of the church, I've really seen the crazy amounts of love and acceptance that exist outside of it. The lack of judgment, not everywhere, of course, but there are beautiful, good people that don't exist in religious environments. And that was a truly, and I know it's sad to hear, but it was an eye-opening thing for me. I was truly, I mean, she calls it almost cultic. Like, that's how involved I was. And it was a breath of fresh air, to say the least, to come out of that and begin deconstructing.
I was raised in a Christian house, but never to the extent of that perfection was an expectation. You know, I mean, we've had some really difficult conversations over, like, do you consider yourself a Christian and do you consider yourself a good person, because his rules were so narrow. And it's like, perfection is not achievable. So how do you raise all of these
you can be
people
real. I told
to
you
put
weren't saved
out into the world that you know, their value becomes diminished on a daily basis because they're not achieving perfection, that it keeps reiterating to them that if you're not going to get to heaven if you're not perfect. I'm like, okay, there are no perfect people. There never have been.
Yeah, to be honest, it sounds a lot like narcissistic abuse. Like,
it's crazy.
You exist.
It's crazy.
You exist to serve this thing, and if you do not serve it perfectly, you are worthless. Like that is.
Yeah, that's like the biggest crux of why I personally don't hate religion necessarily, but what I realize is that people, they live vicariously through it, and they project their own accountability that is for them and for them to learn. That's like the reason God put them here, is to learn these lessons that they're giving away, putting it on this Bible, putting it on each other, and then calling it religion. And we love you, but really I'm not going to take the time to discover who I am, and neither are you. And it's like, that's not, I was fortunate to be in a healthy church where that I got to see that.
Yeah,
that was not the driving force. Like the pastor was truly accepting of people regardless of where they were.
Me too.
And so he allowed me to go explore other religions. So I essentially became agnostic. I became pagan, Buddhist, Taoist. I found out everything I could, and then came back to Christianity and realized like what it meant to be a Christian isn't like I am a Christian. It's like I act like a good person. I understand what goodness is in myself. I understand what that means for others, and it may not look the same. And I can't be the one to sit there and I tell people, does it really matter how you came to know God or what you consider good, or does it just matter what is good? Like that's all I say.
And if you leave the world a better place than it was before you were here, even if you make the difference in one person's life, then that's what counts. It's being a good person, and it's just like leaving the world a better place than it was before you were here. The idea of achieving perfection or living within a specific, very narrow definition of what is, a good, Christian is it's kind of crazy.
I wanted to mention, so as I mentioned, I had to sift through some trauma to get to a relatable point. But in the church, there was no professional help. Right. So what would happen when traumas were brought to light and the idea that I needed counseling was brought up? I would sit down with a pastor. Yeah. Someone untrained in counseling someone through mental issues, through trauma, through
actually doing this.
Exactly. So I would sit there and just be led through Bible verses and be told to repent and to change in certain ways for God, and only by the Holy Spirit's help will you do this. And there was no actual steps, to heal. Yeah. It was
invite Jesus into your heart.
Person, get over your shit and become like Christ. And it's like I went through multiple different pastors, different people in the church that were trying to speak into my life and help me walk better with Christ and, heal from your trauma. But not once did I get a single ounce of what I truly believe was growth and healing until I went to a secular professional therapist. And for those people that I know are in the church that are going through traumas, don't believe that your religion has the answer to help you through truly traumatic situations. Sure, there is fluff there that can help. And I say that out of love as well as a little bit of hate. There's things there that will make you feel good in the moment. But there's also a lot of work that needs to be done underneath that has nothing to do with what you believe in at all whatsoever. And for me, realizing that, like, she saw the unbelievable changes I went through after going to a true therapist. Like, I wouldn't be the man I am today. Not that I'm a great man or anything, but I wouldn't be as healed as I am today if I hadn't gone to a true therapist.
Yeah.
Feel that.
For sure.
If I have some final words that I feel like were really, really relatable. It's just like something that came to my heart. It's my on Facebook profile bio, just sitting there. It says, "Let us inherit our beliefs from the values of life rather than create our value from what we believe."
Yeah, that's
a good one.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
That's what's up. That's definitely an ender right there. Thank you. On that note, thank you guys for another amazing episode.
Minimal shenanigans.
Yeah, minimal shenanigans. Yeah.
I think we stayed way under 600. Which
which is kind of sad. I think that was a goal we should have tried to achieve.
We'll get the counter going here.
Yeah, we need to get a shenanigan counter. A shenanigan counter.
It'll have to be like they shenan once and then they shenan again and keep like and again
and again.
Nice. There were multiple shenanigans.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for checking us out. If you are watching us on YouTube, please leave a comment down below if there was any point in this episode, any point at all that you enjoyed, laughed at, felt connected to, got a little bit of an education bump. Definitely let us know how we can, improve on these episodes going forward. If you are listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google, go ahead and leave a review for this specific episode. Go ahead and leave us 5 stars as well if you think this episode was like worth 5 stars. If not, we'll take whatever stars we feel like you deserve to give us. And other than that, we will see you guys next week. We got to go walk these dogs.
Yeah.
Peace.
Bye.